Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And on this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I have family law attorney, mediator, arbitrator, and collaborative lawyer, Maribeths Blessing, owner of the Law Offices of Maribeths Blessing, LLC, and Maribeths Blessing Mediation and Arbitration, LLC, all the way from Rockledge, Pennsylvania. Now, Maribeth, who is considered to be a leader in the area of family law, will be talking to you today about family-friendly and peaceful resolution divorce processes. So, if you are one of the increasing numbers of individuals in the Rockledge, Pennsylvania area who, you're thinking about your options for divorce, then you might want to stop what you're doing, log out of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or anything else you happen to be doing which may cause a distraction. Grab yourself a notepad and pen and get ready to take some notes as we listen in to what Maribeth has to share with us today. So, with that said, let's not keep her waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Maribeth.
Thank you.
You are so welcome, my dear. So, let's just jump straight in. In your own words, of course, Maribeth, please describe the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
I deal with people who are contemplating a divorce, who have been blindsided and find themselves the victim of a divorce, or people that are in the middle of a divorce and not happy with how they got where they are at that particular time. The focus, the kinds of situations that they find themselves in is they're totally at a loss. They're traumatized and they don't know what to do. Sometimes they come angry. Sometimes they come desolate. Sometimes they come with a purpose. The focus of my firm is to try and help them choose a divorce process that's best suited for them and to make sure they're aware of the processes that's going to preserve relationships and especially families. Because when they dissolve a relationship, they do not dissolve the family unit. That needs to go on for the sake of those children. They need to find a new way to communicate with one another, especially if they're going to continue to be able to co-parent their children. So we try and help them through a very difficult dissolution process.
So keeping in mind that anything you share with us today, Maribeth, is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purpose of sharing information. Is that correct, Maribeth?
That's correct.
Okay, so with that said then, what's the most common, and I'm sure there are so many, but however, we are limited by time, but what's the most common misconception you come across while you're out there helping your clients?
They first come with this preconceived notion that they deserve their day in court and that the court's going to be the be-all, end-all for them and give them justice. Mm-hmm. There is no justice in the court system in family law. In family law, as opposed to criminal law, where you have bad people acting at their best, we have very good people acting at their worst. And the court cannot possibly do much less than put a Band-Aid on a situation by the time they get to court. And once parties are in court, the likelihood of them being able to co-parent thereafter is probably slim to none. So the misconception is that the court's the place they have to go. They have no other choices. And we're here to show them that they do have choices, and choices that count, and choices that are going to meet the needs of them as individuals, as well as meeting the needs of the divorcing parties where they are and what they need for themselves and for their family.
Okay then, Maribeth, thank you for sharing that in such great detail. Really appreciate that. So, based on what you just shared, and obviously keeping your client's confidentiality in mind, please share an example or even a case study, so to speak, of how you've helped or how you would go about helping somebody who, they came to you with that challenge you just described, that misconception, and what kind of transformational results you were able to, or in general, on a whole, would be able to gain for them.
Okay, first of all, let me say my two favorite alternative dispute resolution processes are mediation and collaborative family law.
Mm-hmm.
In mediation, the parties meet individually with myself as a mediator, and I'm a facilitator helping them have the conversations to make their own decisions regarding a divorce. That process is good for some people, not for others, especially if somebody doesn't have a handle on the financial matters of their home or feels intimidated by the other party. So the one I'm going to talk about most today is collaborative family law, which I like to call it as mediation with teeth. Instead of meeting with a neutral mediator, each party selects a collaborative lawyer who has been trained specifically in interest-based bargaining and in collaborative law. Together, we build the team as to what the party may need with the party's input, and the professionals help them steer through the process. Sometimes we have a meeting with the parties with the full team, sometimes just with the lawyers. Sometimes the parties go off with the mental health professional who may help them with parenting issues. Sometimes they're with the business expert who's going to be gathering documents and helping looking at different scenarios and outcomes. In the one particular case I'm thinking about, the woman had originally come to me, and the animosity that she held for her husband was screaming that she wanted litigation. Mm-hmm. And once I learned the circumstances, I had to inform her that her litigation would most likely take 5 years and most likely cost them in excess of $300,000 each because of the complexity of the issues that were involved. I suggested the collaborative family law. She wasn't sure she could sit in the same room with her husband. Once we went over it and she accepted it, he came on board. The other collaborative lawyer came on board. And over the course of a year and probably, I would say, 5 or 6 meetings with different members of the team and the parties, we were able to get them to divorce. And I would say that their total, and we're talking about millions and millions of dollars at stake here. We're talking about a case that had issues of embezzlement with husband's company that could have impacted my client very adversely, and I was able to protect her for that through this process. We're talking about, magnificent collections of classic cars that needed to be dealt with, and we had 4 children involved. What the beautiful part of this is, we came out the other side. The parties were able to work together. We had to make some accommodations in the beginning because wife didn't want to look at husband, but that's what this is all about. We work where the parties are. We work with where their needs are. And it was completely resolved in less than a year. And property settlement agreement was done, and haven't heard from them since, other than she checks in now and then to say how well things are going and to thank me because she's still co-parenting with her husband and things are doing very well.
So, as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Maribeth Blessing, and she's here today talking about family-friendly and peaceful resolution divorce processes. And she just shared an excellent example. So thank you so much for that, Maribeth. So with that in mind, with today's topic in mind, and for those individuals who are listening in right now, Maribeth, what's one of the many pitfalls or, let's say, misguided truths that they need to be aware of, regardless of what situation they find themselves in?
Well, one of the pitfalls is there are a lot of people out there marketing. There's the internet, which can give us a vast array of solutions and forms and things of that nature, and people are gravitating to try and keep things the cheapest they can.
Right.
And sometimes the cheapest method is going to end up being the most expensive, because then they're going to run to the lawyer to undo what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can't be undone. I mean, they're taking legal advice from paralegals. People are not researching their professionals before engaging them. They're not making sure that they have someone who centers their practice in family law, who keeps up with their continued legal education, who's a forerunner in their field. They need to make sure that the philosophy of the lawyer is in line with them. Sometimes they get suckered into what I call one-stop shops. There's a lot of mediation mills out there, if I may say what it is, which are they're not qualified professionals.
Mm-hmm.
They promise to do everything from their office, soup to nuts. They're charging astronomical amounts. One I have in mind charges $9,500 just as a retainer. And then the parties don't get that for their money's worth. They go and they draft all their documents as ghostwriters and send the parties off to file them. And major things can be missed. A pension could be missed. There's no one checking. There's no lawyer looking over the document and making sure that they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's and considered everything. So those are the pitfalls they need to be careful of. They need to do their research.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Maribeth. I'm sure that's going to be very useful for the listener listening right now. So you kind of have me curious, Maribeth. You are a family law attorney, a mediator, arbitrator, and collaborative lawyer. Now, do all of those go hand in hand with each other?
They're all kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
As a family lawyer, I do litigate cases.
Right.
I tend to have a lot of custody cases, which is not what I like litigating, so I always try and look for a settlement first.
Right.
And the collaborative is one of the choices for alternative disputes, so is mediation, and so is arbitration. Arbitration, in that position, I'm a trained arbitrator. I have people bringing their entire case to me to litigate as though they were litigating it in front of a judge. Mm-hmm. And then I have hearings. The rules of evidence apply. The attorneys have to do their pretrial memorandums and their post-trial memorandums, and I will issue an award that's binding, and the parties can't appeal it. And that's one of the things they have to consider when choosing this. And the only thing that can be looked at by a court is custody of children or child support. Everything else would be finalized in that process. People that enter in that process are people that don't particularly want the court to see their IRS issues, or people with family businesses that want to protect them, that kind of thing, or people that are just tired of the litigation. They run out of gas, and then they decide they're going to arbitrate it. So that's another dispute process. So that's the nexus between them.
So when we take into consideration the collaborative process, I mean, that can mean different things for different people, right? The actual collaborative process and its very meaning. So with that said, when you think about all those clients who you've helped to achieve that transformation they were looking for when they first reached out to you, Maribeth, seriously, on a deep down personal level, what does it give you and how does it make you feel?
Warm and fuzzy, because I kept people from fighting, and I've helped their children. I'm an elementary school teacher from way back, and I saw divorce and how it impacts children in the classroom. So I always try and keep in the back of my mind the impact on the children, because the impact on the children ultimately is going to impact the parents.
Absolutely.
You know, they need to be thinking about what they want their child to remember. And as a matter of fact, collaborative crosses not just family law. I mean, I've done collaborative as well as mediation in other aspects in the elder law area to help people make those important decisions about home care and nursing and make sure that the person involved has a voice. I've done it as a dissolution of business partners or a startup business. Right now I have a group of my four other lawyers and I, who are part of our collaborative group of Southwestern Pennsylvania, we're getting together and we're going to open a center for peaceful resolution, which will cross the lines of, we'll concentrate mostly in family law, but we will do other areas, and we'd like to think that we're lawyers with heart.
Okay, so while we're on the topic of speaking about you, just spend a brief moment telling us a little bit about your backstory, and especially your formal education and your experience as it relates to today's topic.
Okay, I started out graduating from Kutztown University in Pennsylvania, and I was an elementary school teacher with a minor in Spanish. I spent 9 years teaching all over the country, Alaska, Texas, Hawaii, as I followed a military husband. After those 9 years, I came back to Pennsylvania, and I had to make a life change, and I got involved with I did a couple more years of teaching here, and then I got involved with the court system. I became a domestic relations officer, adjudicating child support, and I saw my job as trying to settle cases at that first level instead of having the parties go on to a judge. And mostly was able to settle most of my cases, which is where I got very interested in mediation. I've been a lawyer since 1991, so almost 27 years practicing law. My first 4 years was in a very litigious law firm, and decided I wanted to concentrate more on keeping people out of courtrooms and not in courtrooms. So I went with another person, and we opened a center for matrimony dispute resolution, and we were two family lawyers. And I worked with her for 4 years before going out on my own and opening my own practices. I stay very involved with our bar associations. I'm very active in the Pennsylvania Bar Association. I'm out there trying to educate people as to the different processes that are available to them to try and make a swing. And there is a swing going towards more peaceful resolution processes, even from the court system, which are advocating that. In my court system in Montgomery County, we have a special program for custody. Anyone filing a custody action must start with going through a mediation orientation. We can't force people to mediate, but we certainly can make them aware that there is a better process out there suited for their families.
Okay, Maribeth. So for those individuals who are listening in right now, and even sometime in the future, as the show is obviously going to be online, what final thoughts would you like to share with them before we close out with our last question for today? Okay,
mostly I want them to make sure they do their research. If they're contemplating a divorce, and also to remember, if they're the ones contemplating a divorce, they're already out of the house in their heads. And when the other person gets hit with the divorce that they might have not seen coming, it's going to take a little while for them to catch up and be able to be on the same page emotionally. And the alternative dispute resolution processes allow for that catch-up, which is very important. They need to choose a process that's suitable for their family, and especially for them. But mostly they go hand in glove. Even if they don't have children, it's a process with dignity. It's a process that the name of the game isn't win or lose. The name of the game is everybody wins. We look for something that everybody can take something from that's going to work for them, and they become very conscious of the other side's feelings and the other side's concerns. And it's an interest-based bargaining that really drills down into their core values and where they want to go and where they want to be. And I have not had a single collaborative case dissolve, come back, say it wasn't a good deal for us. They always go on to live much better and more productive lives and be able to leave a relationship with some semblance of dignity.
So if there is someone, then, Maribeth, who feels they want to, or they even need to know more about the family-friendly and peaceful resolution divorce process, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, I'm always open by direct line, and my phone number is 215-663-9016. I never go home at night before answering every phone call, so they will hear from me. To get more information so they're more prepared as to what they want to discuss when they call me, they can find a plethora of information on my website, which is www.mbfamilylaw.com. They can Google Maribeths Blessing. I'm going to come up in our collaborative affiliates group. I'll come up in many other places which I've had my hand in over the course of my career, and get in touch with me that way.
Fantastic. So that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. I do have a feeling that we could sit here and speak for hours and hours and only still have scratched the surface of the insights that you could possibly share with us today, Maribeth. However, we do have to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, once more, as a reminder, we have been listening to family law attorney, mediator, arbitrator, and collaborative lawyer, Maribeths Blessing. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Maribeth. You have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator and advocate, and certainly somebody who cares for your clients. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You are so welcome, my dear. And I'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to you. Yes, our listener. Thank you for joining us on this very insightful and informative conversation with one of the top family law attorneys, mediators, arbitrators, and collaborative lawyers in the Rockledge, Pennsylvania area today. Again, her name is Maribeths Blessing. Make sure you do check her out. There are some good resources on her website. Give her a call. She shared her number with us. And whatever you do decide to do after listening to Maribeth for just a short while today, I'm sure you're going to be in good hands. So that's it, folks. Again, my name is Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading divorce professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So, until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present, and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.